Welcome on in, boys and girls. Greetings to you, wherever you may be. I'm Chad Smith, hosting tonight's WyoNation Roundup, and joining me tonight is Mr. Brad Reed. Good evening, Brad.
Hey, buddy. Ready for another week of talking sports?
I am. It is football off season, but as you know, the football off season does not rest. Tons of news to get about the football program, the Mountain West, next year's team, next year's schedule, which is good stuff to have right early here in December already. But we have some little basketball talk to get to as well. So welcome on in, everybody. We'll start with some basketball, and we want to welcome all of you watching on Twitter, watching on YouTube. And I'm just going to monitor the comms here to see if YouTube is, if Twitter is still acted up. And
it's not looking good.
Not looking good. I don't know what's going on. So head on over to YouTube. I will reply to this tweet here for you to head on over to YouTube where you can watch things without Elon getting in the way, which is always fun. Let's reply there. And there we go. So if you are watching on Twitter having problems, below there is the link to YouTube to get a unfettered view of the Roundup. And let's talk with some basketball. Wyoming last night drops one on the road, a 1-point loss to South Dakota State in Vermilion. Is that right? Is that where they're at?
Vermilion, South Dakota.
There in Vermilion, and a rather disappointing loss because the Wyoming Cowboys have three things that they just can't avoid not doing, even in games they win, Brad. Do you venture to guess any of those three things? Name them off, and let's see if you could get at least two of the three.
Turnovers and free throws.
There we go. Turnovers and free throws are two for sure. Two for sure. So it's crazy. Wyoming lost last night by a point, and they had 19 turnovers. I don't even know how you turn the ball over 19 times in a basketball game.
However, to be fair,
yeah,
Vegas did think that we were going to lose this game by 1 point. So maybe Vegas ain't dumb.
Well,
those casinos don't get built by being wrong.
It was a negative. Yeah, it was a 1-point spread. So they nailed it in Vegas.
Yeah.
But I don't think they thought Wyoming was going to turn the ball over 19 times.
No, that has, same with football season and basketball season. Turnovers are killers, and can't turn it over 1 or 19 times, I guess.
Yep. So I was digging into some advanced stats, found this new great site I've never seen, cbbanalytics.com. And I want to point you, let me get this. This right here, bottom left corner, Mountain West graph, points off turnovers, and then for and against by every team. We are clear down here in the corner by ourselves, staring in the corner like a bunch of dunces. This is bad because it means, A, if you look at the bottom axis, points off turnovers, we're getting, I don't even know, less than 11 a game, probably less than 10 points a game, worse in the conference, and scoring off of turnovers. But then if you look at the other side of the axis here, we're giving up over 15.5 points per game off turnovers.
It's been the difference in most games this year.
Not good.
Something less than that number.
Out of 364 NCAA Division I basketball schools, Wyoming ranks 332nd in turnovers. Averaging 14.9 turnovers a game. So that's the number one thing that's got to get fixed. And I don't know how you do it. You need to go get yourself a point guard who can pass and hold on to the ball. That's got to be the number one thing this team looks for next year. And it's probably going to have to come out of the portal. I don't care if the guy can't score, right? Bring in to go thinking someone in the past, like maybe like a Chris McMillan type, right? I don't care if he averages 7 points a game. Can you hold on to the basketball?
Mhm.
Your thoughts?
Well, I see right here we're averaging 12 turnovers a game and giving up 8 turnovers a game, or getting 8 turnovers a game. So we're averaging a -4
Yeah.
turnover ratio per game. So looking at the stats there, where we're giving up almost 15 points a game, an 8-point swing. I don't have. I'm not looking at the numbers off the top of my head, but I imagine that's probably pretty close to the margin of victory in the losses we've had.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, if you just look at these numbers that we just looked at, if you want to say we're giving up about 16 a game and we're scoring less than 10 a game, yeah, you're probably talking every game you're basically starting down 7 to 9 points.
Yep.
Which is not sustainable, obviously. So, but they do play hard. First year in this system, Linder left us in a very difficult spot, obviously, leaving when he did.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. I have faith that they'll turn it around, but it's just these little things you think would be fixable. So turnovers is one. The second is free throws. How about this? 298th out of 364 NCAA Division I schools. We're shooting 66.5% from the free throw line, which is atrocious.
Remember the days of when David Rottinghouse, or was it Rotting? No, who was it? Who was the scorer that we had not all that long ago that led the country in free throw percentage, and he was like 91, 92%?
Yeah,
Not Rottinghouse. That's the guy we had when we were in
that
college.
was in the 90s. Yeah, late 90s.
Yeah, when we were in college.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, free throws are the easiest baskets in the game. And it was a problem under Jeff Linder, too, where the team was just a very poor free throw shooting team. And it seems to still, be trickling down under Coach Sundance here.
Yeah.
Easy thing to fix. I mean, if they can make Shaquille O'Neal make free throws, then I'm sure we can make these.
Well, did they? Did they ever turn him around?
Probably not.
No, yeah.
Probably not. But if we can attempt to teach Shaq free throws, I think we can probably teach these guys free throws too. So, that was one thing that always drove me nuts under Jeff Linder was they just missed so many easy baskets from the free throw line. It's like, holy smokes, guys. Like, we should be making these at a much higher clip than what we are. And just, it never improved. And it's like, was there just never any focus on this? Was it just stand at the 3-point line and just shoot baskets all day long and, try to be good at that? Or I don't know. But yeah, that they should be much better than they are. 66% is not a good number.
No.
Improve that by 20%.
Oh, sure. But even if you shot 75% from the line, you'd probably have 2, maybe 3 more wins under your belt.
Maybe.
Yeah. All right. Other thing I found, they have these cool graphs. So let me just preface this. The other thing that drives me crazy about this team, and now I finally have stats that prove it, is they miss so many layups. It blows my mind. Uncontested layups. They drive down the lane. A guy is, I won't say completely uncontested, right? But, there's kind of a guy there, but they miss so many layups. It blows my mind. And sure enough, is that the wrong one? It didn't load the right one. Hold on.
I say you had points in the paint right there.
Oh, did it? Okay. I wasn't sure if I got the right. Here we go. This is the right one. Here we are.
Cool.
These cool little hexagon charts.
That is kind of cool.
So it preloads teams, but I added Utah State just because they're the best team in the Mountain West right now. They have other teams in here, Michigan over here, State, and then you got like Arizona. But you can look, Kansas, right? They're making layups. Michigan State, they're making points in the paint. Wyoming, look at that. Not so, a lot of blue, a lot of white, which is neutral.
That's not that much different than Utah State, though.
No, it isn't. So, which is interesting, but these numbers are bad. This is 61%. They're not too bad in here. And that's because of not because of the opportunities, it's the number of opportunities. So if you come down here, they give you this nice little graph. So here's at the rim. And if you sort this by field goal percentage, we're at 63% at the rim. Whereas these other schools are at what, 60, even Arizona, not great, but right, the elite schools are shooting 75% from 4.5 feet and in.
Look how terrible Utah State is.
Yeah, pretty awful too. But what really looked at me is, look at this. Your attempts. We don't get to the basket. Look at this. 122 attempts is all we have at the rim. Utah State, look, they got almost 100 more than we do.
And they're even worse.
And they're a worse shooting team, exactly. But it's just these opportunities. We don't get to the rim enough. I think we settle too much for jumpers. And we're bad at it. Because even if you come back here and look at this, like, this is where we're worse. Look at this. From 7 to 9 feet, we're shooting 26%. Where the rest of the Division I is shooting 41%. So that's what's killing us, is these layups and these shots here. We're taking too many long shots, and we're not efficient. But that's what caught out to me is, okay, our average isn't like super terrible, but when I saw the attempts, that's what's holding us back. We don't get easy buckets. And then generally, if you look at points in the paint, just twos, or not in the paint, it is in the paint. Look at that. 39% in the paint. I mean, that's bad. Mm-hmm. Now, Kansas still only 40. But look at this. Like Michigan State, 51%. That's where I would expect you to be in the paint. So very interesting numbers.
I was going to say, too bad you've got it kind of filtered down there. Like if you took the filters off, like I wonder what the average is for
what? Division
I teams or even like Mountain West teams.
I could probably find that out eventually. But I thought this was a cool site. Yeah, and you can sign up for this site, a free account, and you can have access to all this data. So again, it's cbbanalytics.com. Pretty cool if you're into stats.
Michigan State's going to be a problem in the paint, it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, look at that, yeah. Which does not surprise me, right? So, all right. Let's get rid of that there. So, yeah, so the basketball team needs to figure out free throws, turnovers, and then getting some production in the paint. Or it's going to be a pretty long season here. Mm-hmm. So that's the three things Brian wanted us to talk about tonight because he could not make it.
Look at me. I'm too busy with an event.
Yes, sir. All right. Next up is some football news, of course. And let me get that all teed up here. Now, I don't remember these things being announced so early. Like ever, but it must be a TV thing driving this. I saw the Big Ten announced their schedule today, but yesterday the Mountain West announced not dates, but opponents for next year with all the craziness that's going on. Let me make sure that I have it. Here we go.
Big Ten released, dates.
They did have dates, yeah. The Big Ten did release actual dates, but here we go. So we know Wyoming in the Mountain West Conference next year will be hosting the Sheep, Nevada, San Jose State, and UNLV. And then they'll be going away to Air Force, Fresno, San Diego State, and will be making a trip to the islands to play Hawaii. Just taking a quick glance. Looks like just, 4 repeat opponents from this year? Mm-hmm. In the Sheep, the Spartans, the Aztecs, and the Falcons.
Yeah, I read something from Cody today that it's the first time we don't have Boise and New Mexico on the schedule since like 2009 or some crazy thing like that.
Yeah, it's too bad we missed out on New Mexico.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. After this year, I don't know if we want to see those guys again I guess it doesn't matter. They changed.
Won. What do you mean? One of our 3 wins.
Well, yeah, that game was a little bit much on the nerves, but
And they're going to have a new coach.
Going to have a whole new team. It looks like.
Yeah. And then, if you did not know, the non-conference schedule and dates are already set for next year. Wyoming will be opening next season, August 28th at Akron, which, you know what? I just figured out that that's a Thursday night game because everybody else is opening on the 30th.
Yeah. Ooh.
So I didn't know that. So it's a Thursday night game.
Do we get some Thursday night action?
At Akron. And then the next week will be the home opener against Northern Iowa. And then 2 Big 12 schools back-to-back, which I'm not a big fan of. Utah at home and then at Colorado the following week. So those are your 4 non-con games who will be joining this schedule here. But just looking at this, like if we can just improve this team and get some better coaching next year, this conference schedule is very manageable.
Well, and UNLV, they're changing out their coaching staff now too, and who knows what we'll see for graduates.
Yeah, they're the best team on our schedule by far in conference play, and they're going to be losing tons of players, and they just lost their coach. So, yeah, good point.
Yep. So, the Sheep, they're going to do what the Sheep do. But yeah, I mean, the rest of those, this time are winnable.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this as you should be able to win 4 or 5 games out of 8 pretty easily.
Yeah, they kind of always play like crap on the island, though. So
yeah, Hawaii's kind of a wild card, but you should be able to beat Hawaii, right? I mean, that's a pretty winnable game. Air Force is winnable.
In theory, you can beat Hawaii, but playing on the islands just seems to kill them for some reason.
But I mean, under Bowl, I think we did really well out there.
I'm trying to remember last time.
We've lost a couple, I'm sure, but probably have a 500 record. I mean, we could look that up someday. But there you go. So there's a football matchups. I'd imagine your dates would probably come closer springtime when TV starts announcing.
They'll start doing TV, TV games and, figuring out the TV schedule and put dates to it. Probably put the Sheep game back on Friday night like they always do.
Probably a good bet, which will be the last conference border war probably ever until the Pac-12 dissolves and they come crawling back, which is possible. And we'll get more into that later in the show. But first, let's share some more stuff. Just screen share galore tonight, Brad. How about we share a little something from WyoNation?
This is worse than being on a Teams meeting right now.
Oh, come on. Let's see here. Where are we at? Is this it? Do I even have the right one up? It's like gone. I don't see it on my screen. Oh, there it is. Let's blow this up a little bit more. All right, here is the portal tracker on WyoNation.com.
Tap refresh on that.
You want me to? Okay.
I just made an update to it.
What did you do? Well, no, he's not in the portal. That's why I didn't add him. He's retiring.
But he is a subtraction.
He's not in the portal. I'm going to take that away.
He's a subtraction.
We'll talk about it. He's not in the portal.
Yeah.
So we'll get to that. So the big news, not big news, but Cole DeMarzo today, a transfer portal player from Michigan State, announced today that he's retiring from football. So he's not in the portal because he's retiring. So I will remove that because this is my page, and you will not be meddling with my page.
Thanks, Dad.
But the other ones, these guys are real. So all you have to do is you click on their name, and it will give you their post on social media. You didn't know that, did you? See, so you already screwed it up. Thanks a lot. So we'll get Cole off there because he's retiring. So best of luck to him. But right now, Jaden Williams was the first one to go. And I saw that he got an offer today from, I want to say, Minnesota. So he's getting some Power 4 looks. TK King, obviously, the lone All-Mountain West player for Wyoming in the portal. Brandon Siders, very surprising to me. 100% would have been a starter on this football team next year.
Okay.
hitting the portals. Very surprising. Cole McIntyre again. Not a whole lot of safeties coming back. He would have gotten some good playing time, but he's left. Reed Sun played quite a bit this year. He's in the portal. And then Nikos Verleris, who I do believe is a walk-on.
Yep.
And you're going to see a lot of those going away. But, I mean, so far, I guess Jay Salvell was right. He told us there wouldn't be a whole lot of guys leaving.
Yeah.
Just your thoughts on who's left so far.
Yeah, Sider's leaving. That I don't know. That seems like kind of a big loss. Like you can never really have too many defensive linemen, and he's been hurt, and so I'm sure he was a little discouraged with that. But a guy that was definitely going to get some playing time next year, so that's disappointing. TK King, I don't know. Like, yeah, he was our lone guy on the all Mountain West team, but I don't know. Kind of felt like that this one was probably coming. Then yeah, Reed Sun probably would have saw a pretty good amount of playing time next year, along with Koa McIntyre. Nikos, I don't think he recorded any stats this year, if I remember right. So I don't know. I don't think we've seen every player in the portal yet, but typically by the end of the last game, they're hitting the portal pretty hard. So, maybe we're not going to have a ton of turnover.
Not yet, but it's going to come. So,
yeah,
I find this very interesting, not because of players are disgusted with the team after this season and need to leave. It's just that 105 roster limit, as we talked about, is coming. And if they're going to sign another 18 players from high school ranks and the portal themselves getting some transfers to come in, they're going to have to cut a lot of players. And so to me, again, the portal's still open for another 2 weeks and change. I think that maybe he's got a lot of guys that bought in and they're going to go through spring football and people will see where they kind of stand on the team and on the depth chart. And then in the spring, I think you're going to see a lot of guys leave because you're going to have to. The problem is, I guess the NCAA hasn't actually announced when you have to. Oh, they have actually. So I did hear this. You don't have to get down to 105 until the first day of the season, which I guess might be, I don't know if that's August. Week 0 or that's week 1, but late August, right?
Yeah.
So after fall camp, but again, why would you wouldn't want to leave it through fall camp and then get cut because then you got nowhere to go.
Yep.
So that's why spring football, I think, is going to be, you're going to see tons of players everywhere. Guys are going to fight for spots on their schools they're at, and there's just not going to be a room for tons of guys, and you'll have another portal season then.
Did you ever look up how many players Wyoming had on their roster this year?
Yeah, I have the list. Yeah, they started about 120. And then some guys left. I think at the end of the season, they were down to about 117.
Okay.
So, again, and I have the numbers. If you want to go over them again, I can bring them up.
No, that's fine. Okay. I was just curious if
we went over them last week.
I saw some number that Nebraska had 135 or something
150.
Like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
because they have a big walk-on program.
Yeah. But they're probably not the only ones either that are.
No. Other schools are in the 130s, 140s. Especially with the NIL stuff. So what some of the big schools were doing is they were able to basically have 120 scholarship players because they could give kids NIL to cover their schooling. And they're technically walk-ons, but they were getting enough money from NIL to pay for their school. And so I think that's the big reason why the NCAA hammered down on a 105. 115 and 120 were floated for the longest time. And that's what most of the coaches publicly said thought was going to happen. And then I think everybody was kind of blindsided by 105.
Yeah. And, I think it's going to result in pushing talent downward.
Big time.
And I saw a number today that was there's already 4,000 players in the portal since it opened last Monday. And, how many of those are going to find a home?
Mm-hmm.
And, are they going to find a home and are they just going to be done with college football,
There's a lot of guys who will go into the portal and they'll never play another down.
Yep.
Which is sad to see.
And it's the vast majority that go in the portal that don't ever play another down. So, I mean, it's kind of a risk you got to some people take, but unless you're a pretty highly coveted player, you've probably finished playing college football.
Yeah, unless you're willing to go play FCS or even like Division II.
Even FCS, this is the number I saw today was like encompassing like all the divisions.
Okay.
And, you're not even guaranteed to play FCS,
Yeah. True.
Some of these guys just move down and just don't make the team there either.
Yeah, I saw already that. So your number was all of college football. Wow, because I think the number I saw the other day was about 1,700 for division for the FBS, and that was already a higher number than the last two portal years, and the portal's still open, so it's pretty scary.
Yep,
the number of guys that are out there.
Yeah, and many of them will pursue other college interests.
For sure. So, all right. So there's the portal stuff. Reportedly, Wyoming's got some guys coming in this weekend from the portal. I'm not going to get too worked up about this stuff or track it because it's so fluid.
Yep.
You have no idea. I'd rather not know. Just, release the roster.
Give us another list in February.
Yep. Give us a list when school opens, right? And then we'll look at who came. Otherwise, I'm not going to get too worried about it.
Did I see we offered another punter from the portal?
Yes, a punter from Arkansas.
That's right. Yeah,
is what I found. Yeah, I've tracked a few things. We've offered like a punter. So the only two I've seen solidly so far is a punter from Arkansas, and then a safety from Charlotte.
Gonna need a lot of safeties.
Yeah. So defensive back, and that's what we talked about, right? DBs, linebackers. Wide receivers.
Probably a quarterback in there somewhere.
I think they're going JUCO, they say. Again, I'd go for a portal guy, but JUCO is what Salvell said. So they got a guy pinpointed, I'm pretty sure, as we talked about last time. But no news on who that may be, other than they did offer a kid from, was it Riverside? A JUCO
RCC.
Out of California there. So we'll see. So monitor that. I'd imagine we'll have, a handful of guys committed in this month who will be, college football players who played before, and we'll see if they follow what Salvell said of kind of going after FCS guys. But even those guys, I'm looking at their roster lists, their offers, and it's crazy. So it's just it's huge competition. Like I saw today a linebacker from Fresno State who barely played. He was like a backup for 3 years. He just committed to freaking Auburn today.
What?
Yeah, he can't play it. Was like a role, like a substitutional linebacker. And today he committed to Auburn.
Crazy.
So yeah, the portal's nuts.
He must be really physically gifted.
Maybe he's just a freak. But couldn't start at Fresno for whatever reason. But whatever. All right. What else do we got here? Oh, we do. The last thing is everybody's favorite subject, and say it with me, boys and girls. Conference realignment.
Yay.
Ooh. So we got Sean is saying he's not sure DQ is playing anywhere. Exactly. Yep. We talked about him last week, I think. Same type of thing.
Been done since 2022.
Probably would have had a pretty good career with Wyoming. Now, again, kind of the cloud that he left, he was right? He was sick and tired of this offense. So you got to give him for his applaud him for his sticking to his convictions, I guess, right? Basically told Bull that his offense sucked, which was 100% true, and got kicked off the team for it. So,
but then he got to pay for college on his own instead of a scholarship. So
that's true. I mean, so maybe I don't know. And he was a good player for Wyoming. We could have used him last year and this year. So anyway, but yeah, he's kind of the type of person. Sure, you can leave, but it doesn't mean you'll find a spot.
Yep.
So yes, conference realignment is what we were talking about. Kind of came out of nowhere yesterday. Guess Brett McMurphy had it first. And then a couple hours later, bam, Mountain West made the announcement. UC Davis, for now, is joining as the 10th member, but in all sports but football. And we'll talk about that more. UC Davis, interesting school. You know way more about them than I do. I've been there, though. I've been to their campus. Big school. A very big school. Big enrollment.
Yeah, huge.
Very highly rated academically, especially in the sciences and the ag stuff. So they kind of fit in culturally with the Mountain West. But yeah, tell me what you know about
is massive.
UC Davis.
Yeah, their endowment is like, I think it's the biggest in FCS besides the Ivy Leagues in Georgetown. So a lot of money. Their Olympic sports play in the Big West. Is that it, the Big West? Yeah. So their Olympic sports are all, with their California, the rest of the California schools.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, football's obviously in the Big Sky Conference, and it's where Dan Hawkins once landed as a head coach for quite a few years.
Yeah, and I do believe they beat us. Did they beat us in Laramie under Christensen? Or was that Pauley? Oh, that was Pauley.
That was Cal Poly.
That was Cal Poly, not Davis. Okay, so Davis has not beat us. That's good.
They have not.
That's good news.
But yeah, so they Big Sky Conference and football, good football team. They drew a seat, the top 8 seed in the FCS playoffs, and won their game last weekend. But they're not coming to play football yet in the Mountain West, so that doesn't really matter. But yeah, I don't know. It's a fine addition, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what people are expecting. Right? I mean, we have, unlike the Pac, whatever, we actually have enough schools to field a conference. They don't yet. I don't mind adding UC Davis. They fit within the footprint. They're a good school. And
I think it's interesting because, we've read a lot about Sacramento State and them making a push to move their athletic program into the FBS conferences where, elevate their sports programs basically out of the Big Sky. And, they've been doing this SAC to PAC fundraising. They've got allegedly, millions of dollars guaranteed coming in if they do elevate their sports programs, and allegedly the Pac-12. So I'm curious how UC Davis kind of, I guess, came out of nowhere and was targeted as a Mountain West school when, Sacramento State's been, kind of banging on this drum for a little bit. And Davis was just a school that I hadn't considered. And I'm just kind of curious how that came about.
Yeah, I don't know if there was a press conference by the Mountain West or not. I'll dig around to see if maybe they had a short one. Hopefully they'll have one soon where they can talk about why, right? That is an important thing.
Yeah, and the relative location to San Jose State, and I'm sure played a small factor in that.
Yeah, and it's close to the Nevada schools as well.
Yep, close to Reno. So
it's helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, just a really, really interesting ad. Like I said a couple of minutes ago, I think it's a better addition than Tarleton State. But it makes me curious, if they're going to add another football school.
Yes, and we'll get into that next. But let's talk about a little theory that I found on Twitter today where, and this could be true, it may not be true, because schools have done this, as you said, and you can explain the situation more. But the rule is, if you announce that you're leaving the FCS in football, you're immediately banned from playing in the postseason.
Mm-hmm.
And so obviously they're in the middle of a playoff run where they have a legitimate shot, right, to go pretty far in these playoffs. So
I'll be a semifinal team.
do you think that them joining in 2 years is feasible, and they're just holding off on announcing it so they can continue to participate in the FCS football playoffs?
Yeah, well, I think right now would be a horrible time to announce that you would be leaving for the Mountain West Conference.
Sure.
That seems like a, as we do professionally, that seems like a January problem. And so maybe their football announcement becomes a January problem, as soon as the FCS playoffs are done, or as soon as UC Davis is done in the playoffs. And then, I think they would have a year of transition going between the Big Sky and the Mountain West. So I would say that, they would use, if UC Davis football was on the table, and we don't know that for sure, that, they would announce their football moving, in January. They would have 2025 as a lame duck year where they would still play an FCS and Big Sky schedule, but they would not be eligible for the playoffs. Similar to Delaware and Missouri State this year, who were announced they were moving to Conference USA and were ineligible for the FCS playoffs. And I think Delaware would have been a playoff team had they not announced they were moving up. So, maybe that's the path that UC Davis takes for next season, if they're being considered as a football only school, or
Sure.
being considered for a football membership.
Yeah, and I looked up their stadium only seats 10,000, so I think there's no attendance requirements anymore in the FBS, but I would think they would have to at least get to 15,000 seats.
And I think I haven't seen their stadium in a little bit, but the way I recall it being constructed, I think they do have the ability to expand that stadium further.
Sure. So that's something we could research. And yeah, so that's something to monitor. I mean, you might hear a UC Davis announcement that they're joining after the playoffs, or maybe it's a year from now, right? Maybe and I don't know if that's legally, if they can do that. Like the turnaround might be too quick to announce in January of 26 that you're joining the Mountain West in football and then join the league 6 months later.
Well, I don't think you could do that just because, as we saw yesterday, the schedule's set. So there's got to be a
true.
year.
Yeah.
That's why announcing in January would get them a head start into
That's a good point.
The 2026 season.
That's a good point.
And just taking a look at the UC Davis football stadium here, it's just the stadium is basically a bowl that just has grass in the end zone. So there's no reason you can't add another 7,000 seats in that stadium. I mean, that'd be easy.
Yeah.
Just fill in the bowl and you've got 17,000.
Mm-hmm.
So they'd be drawing as many as San Diego State probably.
Yeah, San Diego State. Exactly. Stadium size doesn't really matter. That's when seats like 35,000. They'll never fill that place.
Actually, it's just look
up Snapdragon Stadium.
Oh no, that's a big size stadium. They just don't ever put people in it.
Yeah, I know. So exactly, I'm saying they built a huge stadium, but they can't sell any seats in it.
Yeah.
Same thing like CSU, right? Built this big stadium. The only time they sell it out is when they host Wyoming and Colorado.
Yeah. Well, they don't really host Colorado there, do they anymore? Or do they?
They did. Yeah, they switched back. I think they.
Okay, that's not a neutral field anymore.
Drew says SDSU only has 15 to 25.
They're like 15 or 17,000, but
how are they going to get?
They're inside the Fargo Dome and they can't expand it.
Yeah, how can you expand? I was going to ask that. How can they do that?
Take the roof off.
Take the roof off and then add some seats and then put the roof back on? I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, easy.
So part 2 of yesterday's expansion talk was McMurphy and then others chimed in after the UC Davis announcement is that Northern Illinois has had a Mountain West offer for several weeks now, and their decision is imminent, which is a move I love. I hope it happens, and it should happen because they can make a lot more money as a football-only school in the Mountain West than they can with the MAC. And I think they'd
And
be
they
a
don't have to
solid
play on
program.
Tuesday. And they don't have to play on Tuesday, Wednesday nights.
Yeah, they get to play on real nights.
Yeah. God,
So
can you imagine how shitty would that be?
it is.
Like, let's go tailgating on a Tuesday night.
Yeah.
No.
In like Michigan in November, right? It's like, what?
Pass. Hard pass.
So, yeah, so that's the other thing to monitor too, folks, is NIU. I don't have any idea if they're going to join or not. I would probably put it against as a no, but I don't know why they wouldn't. Everything I've read is they're kind of concerned about the rest of their sports, and they don't want to be treated like redheaded stepchilds.
Yeah,
keep them in the MAC.
If you, and I think the MAC has said that they're not going to allow NIU to keep their Olympic sports in the conference if they did move.
There you go.
And that experiment didn't really work out that great either when they went the opposite way, where they allowed like Massachusetts to have football only there, and that was that. Like that didn't work out very well either. So
yeah, now UMass is joining as a full-time member next season.
And what a strange addition that is.
Yes.
Like that conference has the perfect like geographical footprint where you can basically bus. Like if you're a team, you can pretty much bus to every single game. And if you're a fan, you can definitely drive to every single game. And then you add Massachusetts in there, not even in Boston, you're in Amherst.
Yeah.
And it's like, what a bizarre addition that is. I mean, geography doesn't matter anymore, obviously. But
no.
The MAC had probably the best footprint of any conference in the country. And they dicked it all up.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. If NIU makes an announcement in the coming days, it'd be huge for the Mountain West. I think that add them. And then maybe you get UC Davis at that point, and that eventually gets you to 10. And I kind of like that number because then you can not have a conference title game. Again, I don't know if they would want to go that route, but if you had 10 teams, you could play 9 conference games. Everybody plays everybody every year. There would be a tiebreakers. There wouldn't be none of this nonsense, and you'd have a champion crowned without a title game. Now, granted, you could have some ties, I guess, and then have to go to – well, no, you couldn't because there would be head-to-head in every single one. So I kind of like 10 teams, 10 football teams, head-to-head, no conference title game, 9 games conference, 3 non-conference, beautiful.
Why don't we just go to 16 like the SEC?
Well, who are you going to add, Brad? Not enough teams.
The world is our oyster.
Let's see Austin here. He's got some Fargo voted down expanding the Fargo Dome. And UC has money. Let's see if they go for state money or the Fargo Dome. We have $11.6 billion in the legacy fund. Well, there we go.
I'd be really curious how you would expand the Fargo Dome.
Yeah, maybe Austin knows. Austin, how, if they were to expand it, what's the plan? How do you expand a dome?
Dig down, maybe?
Ooh, maybe you go down instead of up. That's a good point. I think that's probably the answer.
I've never been inside the Fargo Dome, and I feel like that's a pretty good streak for me to not go in the Fargo Dome, so I don't want to ruin that. But
so there we go. There's your news. UC Davis has joined, which is, I think, good for basketball. I mean, they're not great, but they're a basketball program. They'll adjust well.
They do have a basketball program.
And then NIU possibly coming. And then, as we said, UC Davis, monitor them. You're probably right, January. After the playoffs, they may announce that they're coming.
Yeah, and I forget who they play this weekend. But, possible that they could have an announcement this weekend if
they lose. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember if they have a home game this year.
Maybe they lose Saturday and Monday they join the Mountain West in football.
They're on the road at South Dakota.
Okay. That's
A
tough.
4-5 matchup. So that should be a pretty decent game.
Gotcha.
Actually, that'll probably be the closest game next weekend as far as quarterfinal matchups go.
All right. Yeah, we'll have to watch that for sure. I think that pretty much covers it. Lots of stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
Basketball plays again. Let's see. I have it up here.
They got BYU this weekend, don't they?
BYU, yep, in Salt Lake City on a neutral court.
I wonder why they're doing it in Salt Lake.
I remember why. I think it was supposed to be in Laramie. But then, of course, BYU cried, and so they worked it to get us a little more money, and they moved it to a neutral court.
Marriott Center must be having a home and garden show.
So maybe a bridal show.
Is that where you go bid on them? Or
That's possible. No, or you buy stuff for weddings, you silly person.
Oh, so you just don't throw like a giant diamond in there and just see what takes, like fishing?
No, but that would probably work too.
Oh, I bet it would.
Yeah. So there we go. A little basketball, little football. We'll see what the news brings. We may have a new conference member here soon. We may have some new Wyoming Cowboys. So, yeah, hopefully next week we'll have something to talk about for sure.
If not, we'll make something up.
No.
We would never.
We don't do that. So, all right. Any last words, Brad?
No. I'm really excited for my Travis Hunter Heisman bet to cash this weekend. So, although I did hedge on JT like back in October, so.
And I forget, what were your odds again on him?
I got him at plus 1,700.
1,700, okay.
Like that, in September I saw that I was like, wow, that seems really like that doesn't seem right. And now it's just like, man, that is going to be a.
Because now he's like minus like 2,200.
Yes, yeah, it's like minus 500, and I think JT was like plus 200 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
we could talk about it. For any of you watching, do you care about the Heisman anymore? I don't. I think they've killed the trophy.
I think it's interesting this year, though, that a quarterback is not going to win it.
Sure.
And that doesn't happen very often anymore.
No.
Like, we're going to get, like, true, like, whether it be JT or Hunter, we're going to get the best player in the country that wins it. So that'll be a new interesting wrinkle on the Heisman, I guess.
Maybe.
It was funny that they invited Dylan Gabriel and Cam Ward. Is like, we got to fill out these other two seats. Let's grab these two guys, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Come hang out in New York for a couple days, take some pictures, eat some lobster, and get the hell out of here.
Well, Dylan's going to be too busy leading his number one Oregon Ducks in the playoffs to care too much.
Who do you see coming out of that bracket?
I don't know. Let's bring it up really quick. I know we're going to go, but we could do a little CFP talk. I know there's a lot of talk about a lot of heartburn, I guess, about the seating.
Yeah.
And how, and it sounds like they're going to get rid of it here soon.
I think Boise getting in as a top 4 seed is probably what's going to kill the
Yep.
Going to call for reform at this point. Can't have these schlubs from Idaho.
All right, here we are. Let's get this blown up and we'll get it on here really quick. Screen-o-rama.
I kept forgetting to do my bracketology, but then they kept releasing like the committee playoff stuff, and it's like, all right, what's the point? Like,
yeah. Here we go. Here is your bracket. The people don't like the seeding because the argument I've heard is that Oregon has a harder path forward in the playoffs than Boise does.
I think that's completely true.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the way that Tennessee and Ohio State got seeded, like I don't know if Tennessee's good, but I know Ohio State is good, and Ohio State has a legit shot at winning this whole thing.
Sure. So, I mean, Oregon's probably looking at having to beat Ohio State and then having to beat either Texas or ASU.
Well, then they got to beat, but they have to beat Ohio State on a neutral field. They don't even get to do it at home.
Yeah.
Like, they're playing it at the Rose Bowl.
Okay. Sure.
I think that's right.
Yeah, it doesn't have what bowl games are on here, but yeah, kind of interesting.
No, yeah, it is at the Rose Bowl.
I think whoever Boise plays in that second round is pretty interesting. I kind of wish that the seeded by teams got to play those games on campus as well, because it'd be fascinating for like Penn State to go to Boise.
God, that would be so funny.
Wouldn't that'd be pretty interesting.
Or just the Longhorns having to go to Tempe. That would be pretty
Texas
funny
going to Tempe. It would be interesting, yeah. Or Notre Dame playing in Georgia.
That would be wild.
Yeah. But they're going to do it at bowl sites.
Yeah. Yeah, so the first 4 bowl sites is Arizona State, is at the Peach Bowl in Atlanta. So that's a big disadvantage for them, too.
Have to travel across the country. Yeah.
Yeah. Then Oregon's at the Rose Bowl, Boise's at the Fiesta Bowl, and Georgia's at the Sugar Bowl.
Okay. Yep. So I guess they're the 4 seed, so they got this screwed.
Who?
ASU. They had to travel the furthest.
Yeah.
All right. I'm trying to look. Do any of these really line up? No. Okay. So it doesn't really give any of the other teams who might win like a home game.
Yeah. Indiana Notre Dame feels like a cop out. Like, that's just driving up the interstate and going to play a game. Like, yeah, I didn't care for that matchup all that much.
It's not very.
Like, Notre Dame's going to kick the shit out of Indiana. It's
maybe
not going to be close.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't like Notre Dame. I don't think they're very good.
I don't think they are either, but I don't think Indiana's good either.
Could be an interesting game.
Yeah. Like, Penn State, they're going to do bad things to SMU.
I would think so.
And I think I read that like all the home teams are like heavy favorites.
Yep.
Like I would assume Texas will probably handle Clemson. Although I think it's insanely funny that Clemson was the team that kept Alabama out of the playoff. I think that's really funny.
Yeah, Texas should beat Clemson pretty handily at home, right?
Yeah, that Tennessee-Ohio State game, I think, is going to be a really, really good game. That one should be a lot of fun to watch. Not a long travel for Tennessee either if they want to bring 10,000 people up to that stadium or something.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. Are there like away fan allotments?
I don't know.
I'll have to look that up.
I think that'd be a fun game, though.
I wonder if there is allotments or if it's nope. It's pure home game. You can sell who you want to.
So probably renew your season tickets and fill up.
You know what? You're probably not joking.
Stadium.
Probably at all these schools hosting to get your season tickets for next year, you probably had to buy tickets to this game.
Yeah, well, it's the same with like FCS. Like I can just renew my season tickets and just, pay $30 for a game and I'm into the play or, go to the playoff game. So, I don't have to like try to find seats for playoff games. I just renew the seats I have. But yeah, I think that tennis. I wish both teams would lose. I don't care for either team at all, but I think that'll be the best game.
Yeah, and I'm not a big fan either of, having a conference game rematch.
No.
Well.
And Oregon will really struggle to beat Ohio State twice, I think, especially on a neutral field.
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, Dan Lanning kind of got away with some stuff that last time that they played, and that's
true.
Basic. And they changed the rule that after that happened.
Yeah.
So I think Oregon was probably pretty fortunate to beat Ohio State the first time through. So, but somebody on this podcast also has a Georgia future on the national championship.
Okay. And it's not me.
Somebody
I'll
on
tell
the
you that.
podcast.
All right. There we go. A little talk there. We'll talk more about it probably. We still got what? 10 days, right?
This is our next weekend.
Not this weekend, but the following weekend is those games. So I'm sure we'll talk about them.
Good thing I'm not leaving to go back to Wyoming until Sunday, so I can catch all these first round games.
There you go. I think, do they start on like Thursday? Are they like Thursday, Friday, Saturday?
No,
Are they Friday, Saturday?
Notre Dame, Indiana's Friday night.
Okay. And the rest are Saturday?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Good to know.
Friday night playoff game, though. That's kind of exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And they even staggered the playoff games. So we have a 10 a.m., what do we got? A 10 a.m., a 2 p.m.,
And then
and a 6 p.m.
Nice. It might be like the highest rated games ever.
Oh, without a doubt.
It's going to be huge.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yep. So, all right. Well, I know we tried to wrap up before, and then we got into some CFP talk, but that's fine.
The rabbit hole we go.
I think we'll wrap it up now, though, everybody. So thank you for joining us. We'll see what news happens here in the next few days with Wyoming athletics. And if there's something to talk about, we'll be back next week with some type of show. But until then, everybody take care, and we'll talk to you soon.